If the thought of database questions on your professional exam makes you a little nervous, don't worry. You're in exactly the right place. We're going to break down these core concepts and make them so clear you'll feel totally confident tackling any table they throw at you. So, here's our game plan. We'll start with the big picture, what a relational database actually is and why it's so important. Then, we'll zoom right in on the building blocks, the different keys that hold everything together. After that, we'll unpack the principle of normalization that makes it all so efficient. And to wrap it all up, I've got a crucial tip to help you ace those exam questions. Okay, let's start at the very beginning. What problem are relational databases really trying to solve? Well, it's a huge challenge that pretty much every modern business has to deal with. I mean, seriously, just try to imagine running a massive online store with just one giant spreadsheet. You'd have customer names repeated for every single order, book titles typed out again and again. It would be an absolute mess of redundant information and a total nightmare to find or fix any errors. The solution? A relational database. It's actually pretty elegant. It organizes data into simple, structured tables, like this one for books. Each column, like title or author, is called an attribute. Each row is a record for one specific book. And that single piece of data where a row and column meet, that's a field. All right, now we get to the single most important rule for keeping all this data perfectly organized and preventing that chaos we were talking about. It's all about unique identification. Every single record in the table must have a primary key. It's a value that makes that row totally unique from all the others. No exceptions. It's basically the data's unique fingerprint. In this customer's table, for example, the customer ID is our primary key. Even if we have two customers named Bob, their different customer IDs mean we can always tell them apart. No confusion. So remember these two strict, non-negotiable rules for a primary key? First, every single value in that column has to be absolutely unique. Second, you can never ever leave it blank or null. Every record needs its own ID, period. Okay, so we've got these perfect, separate tables for customers and books. But wait a minute, how do we connect them? How do we know which customer placed which order? Well, that's where our next concept comes into play. This is the job of the foreign key. It's basically a bridge or a pointer. It's just a column in one table that contains a value from the primary key column of another table. And that's what creates the link, the relationship between them. Take a look at this orders table, that customer ID column right there. That's a foreign key. It's not identifying the order ID is already doing that. No, instead, it's pointing back to the customers table, telling us exactly which customer placed that specific order. And here's where foreign keys are different. They can have duplicate values. And that makes perfect sense, right? One customer can place many orders, so their customer ID can show up over and over in the orders table. They can also sometimes be left null, which gives you a bit more flexibility. Now pay close attention here because this is a classic exam trap. To be crystal clear, primary keys are for identification. They must be unique and they can't be null. Foreign keys are for creating relationships. They can have duplicates and they are allowed to be null. Got it? Good. All right, let's cover a special kind of key. And then we'll look at the big idea that makes this entire structure so powerful and efficient. So, sometimes a single column just isn't enough to make a record unique. When that happens, we can actually combine multiple columns, and together they form a unique composite key for that row. Look at this orders/books table. It's the table that links which books are in which orders. You'll notice that order ID 1 shows up twice, and a book ID might appear in lots of different orders, so neither column is unique by itself. But the combination of order ID and book ID for each row is unique. That right there is a composite key in action. Okay, so this whole process we've been describing, breaking our data out of one giant table into all these separate specialized tables that are linked together by keys, that has a name. It's called normalization. And the whole goal of normalization is to avoid repeating yourself. We only have to store a customer's name and email one single time in the customers table. We only store a book's title and author one time in the books table. This dramatically cuts down on repeated data, which makes the whole database faster, way more efficient, and so much easier to manage. Okay, let's bring this all home and focus on what you're actually going to need to do when you sit for the CPA exam. So here's the thing. Your task on the exam isn't just to spit back definitions. They're going to give you data, and they want to see if you can spot when something is fundamentally wrong with the structure. They want to know if you can identify the errors. Here is your key exam strategy. Look for data that just doesn't fit. If a column is labeled date, but you see a dollar amount sitting in one of the fields, ding, 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 that's an error. This is a classic way they test if you really get how database structure works. So stay sharp. And that's our look at the architecture of organized data. The next time you're faced with a table, don't just see the numbers and words. See the structure. Ask yourself, what's the primary key? How does it connect to other data? Because understanding that structure isn't just about passing an exam. It's about finding the real insight that's hiding in the data.